Hi, in this video we reveal more of the secrets of macro photography. Hi, I'm Adam and welcome to First Man Photography. And before we get into the video, if you haven't done so already, head over to firstmanphotography.com, fill in your details to join the email list, and I'll send you a free copy of the ebook on how to capture perfect exposure every time. Okay, let's get into this. Okay, so this is the second part of my series on macro photography, and if you want to check out the first, click up there now or click down below and you can see that introduction to macro photography where we use some basic gear. In this one, we're going to be using a more advanced setup to really get into it. Okay, so macro photography is all about getting in close and magnifying the small. And true macro photography is what we call on a 1-to-1 magnification ratio. And all that means is that the life-size object you have will project the same size onto your sensor. So if you have say a 1 penny piece, that will project the same size onto your sensor. So it really magnifies the image when you blow it up. Now, one of the key things to understand with macro photography is about the depth of field, because when you get in this close to your subject, the depth of field will be extremely small. So very often, if you are down at say f2.8 on your aperture, your depth of field is going to be absolutely tiny. So a lot of the time we're going to want to use a slightly smaller aperture to increase the depth of field. So if we take this shot of a lily as an example, you can really see how that depth of field can be used to your advantage, but also how shallow it can be. Because I'm focused in on the stigma at the front there, and as you go down into the flower, you lose that sharpness, although it looks good in this image. You can also see how I've used the composition, and you've got to think about your composition as you would with any other shot and use all your normal photography rules. Okay, so because this is the advanced part of the macro tutorial series, we're going to be using some slightly more advanced gear. And that all starts with the macro lens. There's a number of them on the market. This one though is the 100mm f2.8L lens from Canon. And if you want to see my review of that, please click there or down below to see that review now if that's something you're interested in. I've also got the macro extenders on here to get myself in even closer, and we're going to be using some off-camera flash, but also this dedicated macro flash. And I'm going to be giving this flash away, so stick around until the end to find out how you can win this. Okay, so with that all sorted, let's get into shooting. Okay, so we've got our studio set up and we're ready to shoot. And the beauty with macro is that you can do it at any time of the year. When the weather's good, you can get out, use that good, bright conditions, and it's easy to shoot and really experiment with everything that nature has to offer. Now, when we come inside, it's important that we add light because of those small apertures that we're often going to be working with. Now, in the previous video, I used a very simple lamp setup, but because this is the advanced version, we're going to be controlling that light with flash. Now, if you use onboard flash, so your pop-up flash or a camera-mounted speed light, the problem you're going to run into is if that flash is sat on top or the light source is sat on top, if you're really close into your subject, the light is going to literally be blocked by the lens of the camera. So using off-camera flash or the macro flash is the way to go. The first way I'm going to show you is with the off-camera flash. Okay, so with macro, there's lots of interesting things that we can shoot that aren't immediately obvious to the human eye. And as an example, I'm going to take a shot of this screw. And I'm going to do that at first without any flash at all, just to give you an example of what the difference controlling that light can make. So I'm just going to grab my camera. I've got the macro lens attached. I'm going to get down and take a quick picture of this screw, and I'm manual focusing a little bit and take that shot. And as you can see, on that shot, I had high ISO, I had a very big aperture, or the biggest that the lens would allow, which is f2.8 in this case, and I've just gone ahead and shot it. And as you can see, it isn't a very interesting image. So I'm going to control the light and add a little bit of interest to the image. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is take this piece of Perspex and just put the screw on top of that, because when we use the flash, some of the light will be reflected and I'll add a bit of a reflection to the image. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just use the flash to light the screw and cast a nice shadow across the rest of the image of the screw. And then I'm hoping that the background will be nice and dark with the aperture that I'm using. So I'll grab the camera. I've got a very similar setup. The flash is switched on. I'm going to get down and take that shot again with the Perspex and with the flash. So I'm lined up, take the shot. And as you can see, that is a much more interesting image, and actually quite a nice image. Now this setup is very similar to the setup I use for my macro water drop shots. And if you haven't seen them before, or you're interested in shooting them for yourself, please check out the tutorial now. I'll put the link down below or click on the screen now. Okay, so I've got a nice shot there. Let's change it up a little bit and bring in the macro flash. Okay, so now we have our dedicated macro flash attached to the camera, and it uses this nice ring flash to light the scene. And with having the light source on the front of the lens isn't going to block out any of that light. It actually makes shooting macro very easy. And the way I do it is to set my shutter speed to 1/200th of a second, my ISO to 100 or 200, and then I just leave the flash on ETTL. And then I adjust my aperture depending on my depth of field needs for the image that I'm shooting. So it really is easy, and you can adjust the flash compensation if you need to adjust your exposure at all. So once we've got all that set, we can get to shooting some images. So I've got my guitar here, and I'm just going to take a picture of that, see what interesting bits I can find. Now I'm going to have a little look at the machine heads down here, and I'm going to get down and see what image I can get. So I'm going to line it up, and I want to use the strings as my lead-in line, so I'm just going to take that shot and see what that looks like. As you can see, that is actually a pretty nice image. Another thing that I really like about macro photography is we can really have some light-hearted fun with it, especially since photographers can so often be a stuffy bunch. So I've got a little setup here with my friend Melvin, the microchip, and as you can see, he's very small, so I've fed him a few sugar granules to keep him nicely fed. So for this shot, I have got the macro lens, and I've attached the macro extender that I featured in the other video to get me in a little bit closer and to really blow Melvin up as big as we possibly can on our final image. For this, because I'm in so close, I don't want any movement, so I've got it attached to the tripod. So I've already got my shot composed. I'm just going to get down, double check, and then take that shot. And as you can see, that's a fun shot. So when you come to shooting your own things, you can really let your imagination run wild. You can use the off-camera flash, experiment with your light, and you're really going to get some beautiful images. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that video and you've now got a deeper understanding of macro photography, and you can really go and use that to capture some beautiful images of your own. Okay, so if you want to be in with a chance of winning this macro flash, all you need to do, if you haven't done so already, is subscribe to the channel. And then I want you to leave a little note in the description below about what you intend or what you are planning to shoot with your macro photography. So if you like the video, please give it the thumbs up because that really helps me out. Like the Facebook page if you haven't done so already, and I'll see you on the next video. I'm Adam, this is First Man Photography, out.